This morning, we're going to have a presentation here from Dr. David Anderson. David is an entrepreneur. He is the founder of the Empowerment Radio Network, executive producer of the film Black Friday, which was shown last night and well received by the students, and also has a show called Blackonomics. So at this time, I'd like to present to you Dr. David Anderson. David?
Morning. How's everyone? Good. How'd you guys enjoy last night? It was amazing. It was an amazing night. All right, let's get to business real quick. I was asked to give you guys an update on where we are economically. And before we jump into statistics, because this is a lot of data that we're going to go through, I'm going to try to make it palatable. But I want to lay a foundation, hopefully for the rest of the event. This clip that I'm about to show you is a clip on Russian television. It got into about 900 million homes. And the conversation was specific to student loans. If you guys know anything about my entrepreneurial career, if you've done some research, you know I preach heavily against three things, or it's a couple more than three, but mainly having no mortgage, having no car note, and having no student loans, all right? So I stand in here today in front of you without a mortgage, without car notes. I got about 4 different vehicles, and I don't have a student loan. In fact, my son, who has been embedded into my presentation, who goes to Middlebury, that cost is about $75,000 a year. He's got $55,000 in student loans, or excuse me, in grant money, all right? And there's another $25,000 in there that I got to service. And we've used different things to service that. But I can stand at this podium today telling you that my son doesn't have any debt going to school, right? So you need to pay extreme attention to what I'm about to lay out, because what we're being told and what you guys are buying into is enslaving you to debt, okay? There's 2 types of debt that are non-dischargeable. One of them is student loans, and the other one comes from divorce. They call it non-dischargeable debt. You can't get rid of that, all right? So if you want to be successful, it's great that you're in school. I commend you, all right? But there's another side to this thing that you got to master right now. And if you don't, when you leave, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be behind the 8 ball like 250 G's, because at historically black colleges, we don't finish in 4 years. We usually take 5 or 6, at least I did. You're going to have debt, okay? And then you're not going to be able to get a gig, period. And I don't mean to give you this bad outlook on what's going on, but this is the deal. In fact, there's a book out called The Second Machine Age. This is everyone's homework assignment, and you should write this down. The second machine age speaks to automation. Automation, obviously, computers, AI, all this type of stuff. In the second machine age, they said by 2025, class, the government is going to issue subsidies to take care of the working class workforce. Because of automation, 1/3 of the nation's workforce will be deleted because of automation. So the government is issuing subsidies. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like food stamps to help the working class. That means there's no jobs. You're going to school to learn how to get a job, and ain't gonna be no jobs. And you're taking out loans to do it. We got problems. So we have to change the way we're thinking about what it is that we're here to do. And that includes education, but you gotta get a dual education. You gotta create some skill sets, and you gotta use those skill sets to make some things happen. So I'm gonna play this clip right quick. This is a real quick 5-minute clip of this conversation on Russian television with Tom Hartman. And I want you guys to just check this out, and then I'm gonna give you, we're gonna go through these statistics right quick. Is that all right? All right. Let's see how we can get this, I've got video, but no audio.
Welcome back to tonight's Big Picture Rumble. Still with me, Andrew Foster, David Anderson, and Sean Noble. Let's get back to it. During a hearing on Capitol Hill Tuesday, California Congressman Maxine Waters said she supported the Corinthian 15. The Corinthian 15 are 15 former students of the for-profit Corinthian college system who are leading the nation's very first student loan strike by refusing to pay back their loans. So this is just one example of the disaster that we're in. We've got over $1 trillion of student loan debt. 1/8 of all the people with student loans are in default right now. Tuition in public colleges is $62 billion in 2012. That's less than what the government already spends to subsidize the cost of colleges. What do we do about this? This is something that in the entire history of the United States, we never had this problem. We never had this problem until Reagan started taking apart our educational system, and here we are. When Reagan came into office, 80% of the cost of college was paid for by state, local, federal, or college, endowments, and 20% was tuition. Now it's the exact opposite. 80% of the cost of college is tuition, only 20% is paid for by the government. You can thank Bill Bennett, I guess, for that. But where do we go with this? We're the laughingstock of the developed world.
I think the biggest problem is that we have a construct where university presidents feel like they have to build an entire empire. And so they are losing sight of what the basic...
If you're talking about for-profit colleges like Corinthian...
No, I'm talking about state universities. I'm talking about massive state universities, Ohio State, Arizona State. I mean, these are
overhead
places...
at with the single exception of the salaries of the presidents, which has gone up into the multiple hundreds of thousands of dollar range, you're not seeing any big increase in overhead at state universities. They're in fact, actually, what you're...
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Not in real terms.
Put out their own
dollars.
budget to kind of compete with the Obama budget. One of the things they said is take a look at the cost of Title VI, of Title IX, take a look at all of these federal regulations. A Wyoming Catholic college, just like last month, said we're going to opt out of Title VI, we're going to opt out of student loans because the regulations are just too expensive. We're going to continue to give out need-based scholarships, we're going to continue to give out merit-based scholarships, but we're going to do it on our own dime. And I think that's a better way to do it. Hillsdale College, Grove City College.
I mean, Jefferson's, the thing he was most proud about of everything he did was that he created a free college, the University of Virginia.
Sure.
Abraham Lincoln, 56
States
land-grant
can
colleges,
provide free colleges if it were not for the federal largesse, grants and aid that are coming with massive strings attached, which decrease quality, which increase costs. The Obama budget proposed increasing the OCR.
So you're saying that the reason why
it's insane.
For 200 years in the United States, we had no problem with this. People could work in the summer and pay for college. And the reason over the last 25, 30 years that the cost of college has exploded.
Yes, when was Title IX passed? And then exactly.
Is not the consequence of Reaganomics. It's not the consequence of cutting
It's administrative
radically.
bloat. It's absolutely administrative bloat.
I don't believe it.
I think we need to do, Tom. I think as Americans and as dads and parents, we just got to take control of the kitchen table conversation. We can no longer tell our children to utilize student loans. It's a death sentence. There's no way that my son just got a letter he got an interview from Harvard. If he gets the opportunity to go to Harvard, there's no way that we're going to pull out a student loan to pay for his education. It's insanity. There's a kid that wrote a book called $1 Million Scholar. His name is Darius Quarles from the south side of Chicago. Darius went to Morehouse College, paid for all 4 years up front, had money left over to buy a car and a house, and still had about $400,000 left over. Wrote about it in his book called $1 Million Scholar. And we're not pushing our kids to go to scholarships.com. We're not pushing our kids to actively seek these equity monies to raise the capital that they need to pay for the school. You got crowdfunding. This guy walks 30 miles.
Why don't we just do what most European countries, what most countries around the world do, the developed countries, and just say, if you can go to college, you can go to college. It's free, just like high school.
I think we could do that. I think we could do that for most, if not every student that wants to go to college. But the way that we would have to do that is we could offset that with reducing all the costs, the grants and aid to the state governments and things like that.
Parents just have to get aggressive about raising the funds to go. The money is already there. I mean, if you go to the foundation,
shouldn't have to be paying this.
But this is what it is.
This is our infrastructure. This is our intellectual infrastructure, David.
You can't take out a student. Listen, Tom, this is what the program right now is set up for everybody. Every American is already set up in a program that creates a slave culture. This is a debtor society. You're told to go use a student loan to go get an education. Now, when you graduate, you can't even get a job to service the debt.
So let's get the
How crazy is that?
costs out of going to college. Let's make college
We've
free.
got that's
And-
ideal, but the reality is, when your kid comes up to go to school, if you don't have that money, they're telling you to use a student loan, and then when the kid graduates, they tell you to use a mortgage. So now you're behind the 8 ball, $250 on the student loan, and then another $250
the
on the mortgage.
financialization of
It's $500,000
education is
behind
insane,
the 8 ball.
Sean.
Arizona.
All right, so I want to pause it right here because you guys can kind of get the gist of where this is going, all right? You can watch the rest of it on YouTube. There's a whole bunch of videos there, but the bottom line is we got a crisis and no one has a solution. Okay? It's Tom Hartman's show. This is the premier show for dialogue on these types of intellectual issues. Ain't nobody got no solutions. Public policy cats from the White House, other people over here, nobody has any solutions, all right? So this is the environment that you guys are operating in. Don't nobody got no solutions. And y'all still, being told to use student loans. So that protocol has to stop. I want to get into this presentation right quick, if I may, and I'm trying to figure out how to open this up. Give me 1 second. Techno bro in the house. Okay, so I think it's F5. All right, I'm gonna just roll with this. Okay, so here we talk about the real cost of education. All right, so you figure Clark was it 27,000 a year? Oh, it's gone up. Okay, so where we at now? 30 what? Wow, 36. Okay, 36 stacks. Okay, on average, 4 years, hopefully. All right. So we're in the 100, let's just say with interest and everything, $150,000 range, all right? With these student loans, when you try to offset that over the amortized 30 years, and they get deferred, so they go beyond 30 years. In fact, there was a story of a lady in Vine City who died at the age of 92, not from diabetes, not from some known disease, hypertension in our community. She died because auto dialer was calling her house every day to collect on a student loan that she had back in the early 80s, okay? And the interest had gotten out of control and it stressed her out. She died. She died literally from student loan debt, all right? So we got to look at the real cost of education. There's a monetary cost, right? But then there's this other cost, we call it intrinsic value, of the stress of carrying that burden over this 20 to 30 year period that's amortized, right? And they're charging interest on that. So we got to understand what that real cost is. If we look here, based on the average tuition and fees in 2014 and 15 as reported by the College Board and assumed to increase 5% annually. Private colleges, 134 to 323,000. You can see when we talked on Tom Hartman, the explosion that they talked about of the student loan crisis. You can kind of see that here. The public in-state universities, 39,000. Clark's kind of in that space, to 94,000. And then the two-year community college, which is 77,000 to 186,000. All right, we got some problems. These are the statistics. This is not me pontificating ad nauseum. This is the deal. All right, then we look at what's the real cost of education. A college degree is valuable, but debt may be undermining wealth. Think about that, class. A college degree is valuable. It's extremely valuable. We're not here to debunk the reasons why you're here. It has value. Socialization skills, learning, information. But learning and getting information and utilizing these instruments to create debt, this is counterproductive, all right? So we have to put measures in place to change that. Here's a comparison of student debt. And this is from my friends at the Brookings Institute. Black folks, all right? We're graduating with $27,000 on average of educational debt, all right? White folks, $19,000 in educational debt on average. Asians, $18,000, and Hispanics on average, $17,000, all right? This is under unique circumstances, because I don't know too many people that only have $27,000 in debt. I got friends that went to Harvard B School. They behind like $300,000. They trying to figure it out, right? So we gave an example on the Tom Hartman show. I'm very impressed by Darius. He's actually one of my mentees. Darius developed a skill set. You know, some of y'all might say, well, Dr. Anderson, my mama, my daddy can't stroke no check. Well, I was in the same boat 20 years ago. Matter of fact, I was at Morris Brown College calling my mom, talking about I needed some money because the financial aid line was tripping. And my mama told me to figure it out. All right? So Darius, in the same vein, growing up in the south side of Chicago, couldn't call home either, right? No resources at the house. So he had to figure it out. And his modality for figuring it out was scholarships.com, right? He's got a book. It's like $17.95 on Amazon. Some of y'all in here can't call home like I did 20 years ago. Matter of fact, home calls me for all kind of crazy stuff now. But, you know, 20-some odd years ago, I called home, and I mean, I could talk, but it wasn't going to be nothing coming back down the other way. Nothing financial, no serious financial stuff, all right? So we have to develop, as African Americans, skill sets that enable us to generate income to offset these debts. I think that's a valid point. Darius figured it out. He came up with a strategy, focused on the strategy, and raised $1 million. Went right here to Morehouse, graduated almost a year and a half, 2 years ago. All right? Paid for his school up front all 4 years, bought a house and a car, still have almost $500,000 left off. Why are the students in this room at Clark not doing that? Like, what's up with that? We got, beyond research, we got applications now. Y'all can go and download an app, and the app will tell you what scholarships to apply for, right? You got no excuse, none at all. The whole thing of I don't know how to do it is out, it's out the window now. You can Google what, matter of fact, you don't even have to type it in. You can say, Google, I need some scholarships. Google got like 100 options for you. So y'all got to get to the business of the follow-up because the information that you got access to is insane. This is another example of no student loans. So this is my son. He's in the photo. He speaks 3 different languages, and now his mom's is not Chinese or Japanese or whatever, but next to him is the counsel, general counsel for, the consulate to the United States from Japan, all right? And my son came in first place. Sitting next to him, this is a young lady from Brown. The person next to that person is someone from Yale, and the person next to them is someone from Harvard, all right? This is a kid from Atlanta who went to Riverwood Academy, or Riverwood School up there in Sandy Springs. And then Middlebury, he applied to all 9 Ivies, and he kind of had second interviews and then got letters saying no, 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 no across the board. But my father suggested that we apply to this school called Middlebury. I didn't know much about it, but my dad, he's into education. He went to Harvard, he's got a PhD, all this type of stuff. So he was like, yo, he need to apply to Middlebury. His son applied to Middlebury because it's a liberal arts college. They into language, that's their thing. And my kid is speaking like 3 different languages. He's speaking Japanese. So in this photo, the consulate, all right, the general counsel for the United States ambassador to Japan in the U.S. is giving him an award for coming in first place speaking Japanese, meaning that he spoke Japanese better than the Japanese. All right? So because of that, he's got this whole new world that he's created that he can lean on to help in terms of scholarships to offset whatever the deal is that Middlebury's talking about. All right? What are your skill sets? I don't know how this kid figured this out. We bought him a manga book at Barnes & Noble's, and he started playing these games and all this type of stuff, and then he just started speaking the language, and the teachers at Riverwood was like, yo, your kid speaks Japanese. I'm like, word? Okay, how do we handle this? You know, what do we got to do? And so his teachers took an interest, they poured into him, and he's developed a skill set. So now he's working on Arabic and Mandarin or whatever. He wants to be an international diplomat, all this type of stuff. So I'm not saying this to show off. I'm saying this because there's other students in here that speak other languages. And it's cool to speak other languages. It's uncool to only speak English. Who does that? How are you going to make any money in the future and you only speak English? And half of us are speaking a broken English. Because on Campbellton Road, they be talking like this right here, shouting, I need to get some watermelon cigarillos and they scratch off over there, dog. You understand? We can't move in and out of anybody's world. And so I'm showing y'all this because this is a direct connection of a young black man who they say, you know, we supposed to wear our pants hanging off our backs. And he's up here getting an award from General Counsel. Konnichiwa, watashi no name wa David Anderson Dessa onegashimasu, right? So we got to learn languages. We got to create skill sets. I speak a little Japanese. I'm sorry about that. So, you know, when you're doing business around the world, it's disrespectful to not connect with the other side. So if you're coming in with your agenda and you don't have the couth to kind of respect the other side, don't think they're going to cut you a check. Or if they cut you a check, your numbers is going to be messed up. You can't count, you can't speak their language, you're relying on a translator to tell you, yo, is this right or is this wrong? So when you're really doing real business, you got to speak multiple languages. Let's keep moving. Wealth gap among races. This is the part that's exciting. This is from our friends at the Pew Research Center. And actually, I should have included some information on the Gazelle Index. Danny Boston. Whew. Georgia Tech, you guys got to Google this cat. It's bad. His research is, I believe, is higher than the Pew Research Center. But you know, Pew is the recommended company to go to. Anyway, racial and ethnic wealth gaps have grown since the recession. Well, what recession are we talking about? Let's get into it. The median net worth of households in 2013, okay? Check this out. White households, the net worth is $141,000, somewhere between $192 and $141, all right? So when white folk have issues, and I'm not, you know, talking bad about white folks, some of my best friends are white, but when they have issues, right, they can pick up the phone, call home and say, hey, Dad, I need $50,000 for school, right? That money's in the account. Why is that? It's not because they're white. It's because the economics is different. Why is it that the houses in Sandy Springs, same house that's here in the West End or in 30331 in the Cascade area, same 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house, when you pick that house up and bring it to Sandy Springs, it's worth $500,000. What's up with that? Anybody ever do some research on that? Maybe it has something to do with the divising line. When you do the history in Atlanta, the divising line is what they call I-20. And banks actually use that as a measure to do something called redlining. Meaning, if you lived under I-20, your house was going to be worth, according to banks and appraisals, 70% less than what it would be if it was above the divising line, I-20. That's economic racism to the highest extent. But we putting our fists up in the air talking about Black Lives Matter, and George Soros just sent $100 million to that campaign 2 months ago. Come on, son. Your priorities are backwards. That same energy that you're spending out there putting your fist in the air for a billionaire that's manipulating should be spent on fighting economic injustice. Because for a house to be worth, a bigger house to be worth $40,000 in the Southwest Atlanta area and then go straight up the road to Alpharetta and it's worth $500,000 is a farce. And this Pew study and this research speaks to that. I think Dr. Claude Anderson said the African American net worth was a negative $19,000. See, we can't use Pew for everything. Pew's good to give, you know, an estimate. Because it says here, the net worth of African Americans is somewhere at $11,000. Dr. Claude Anderson, if you understand his research and you don't know who Claude Anderson is, you got to check this out, powernomics.com. Dr. Anderson says our net worth is a negative $19,000. That means Negroes don't got nothing. We behind the 8 ball. Credit scores and race, okay? I'm a loan broker by trade, meaning in 2006, I started a company. I made my first $1 million in 2006 as a business finance consultant, meaning entrepreneurs came to me to be able to help navigate getting financing, all right? So if somebody needed some money, usually people needed between $100,000 and $150,000, you go to Bank of America. If you don't have a credit score of a 720 with no inquiries, your loan wasn't going through. And the average African-American credit score is like a 620. all right? So automatically there's a 100-point disparity on trying to get financing for black businesses, period, all right? And so African-American merchants would come to us to be able to put these packages, what they call bankable packages, together, which went beyond a business plan. It got into financials, it got into management, it got into all kind of stuff, all right? And then we had to have the relationships, and in addition to that, you had to have either 10 and mostly, 20 to 30% down because you black, that's the black tax, to be able to activate the other 80 or 70% from the other side, all right? So we call ourselves intermediaries, or what they call certified loan brokers, all right? So credit is something that we deal with on a real serious basis, okay? And actually, now you guys have an opportunity not even to leverage the credit, because you guys can use crowdfunding to finance anything that you want to finance. You can go to Kickstarter.com and say, hey, this is my idea, and people will give you free equity to start your business. That's a game changer. But see, we do it the wrong way. We using GoFundMe to bury people because we ain't got burial insurance. How crazy is that? Our counterparts are using GoFundMe to come up with great ideas to finance their concepts to do business, yo. We got this thing backwards. But this all about the credit score, right? So if your credit score is jacked up, then what? You're in school, you can't pay the loans, you don't got no income, now your credit is jacked up. You owe 250 G's. You gotta have a skill set, man. You gotta have a skill set, and you gotta monetize that skill set so that you don't take on more debt. So we can go into the statistics on credit score, but the main thing is all of y'all, before y'all leave here tonight, second piece of homework assignment is to go to, what is the credit report company? Not Free Credit Report. No, not Credit Karma. Chucks, it just lost my mind. I'll get to it. No, not the annual credit report. It's a service. I'll get to it. I'm gonna get to it before the presentation. I have to go on my phone and find it. It's a service that it costs $1 to be able to get your whole entire report. And I'll look on my phone and get it to you. But it's imperative that all of you can use freeannualcreditreport.com, but there's another service, and I'm going to get to it. Annualcreditreport.com or freeannualcreditreport.com, but this particular service is a different one. Creditchecktotal.com. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Creditchecktotal.com. Why? Because it's $1. All right? And they give you the entire report. It's very thorough. They give you scores. They give you a tri-merge report. They tell you about your inquiries. They tell you about your well, you guys shouldn't have public records and all that type of stuff, but it just tells you exactly where you are. You need that tonight. It's called creditchecktotal.com. Yeah, Credit Karma does, but they're not really like approved. They got issues on their reports. Not to knock the suggestion. If you have challenges on credit, this is what I'm trying to get to. There is a website called optimizemycreditnow.com. optimizemycreditnow.com. There's a nonprofit organization here in Atlanta on Windy Hill. It's called the National Credit Educational Service. And they will wipe your credit report legally. It's a nonprofit organization. And you can contact with them and get your score going, because you guys should not have any issues on credit. If you do decide to start a business while you're in school, you should buy a pre-existing business, one that's cash flowing. I don't know if y'all saw The Blind Side? Okay, in The Blind Side, there was a laundromat in the West End that Quentin was sleeping on, and Sandra Bullock, she won an Oscar for this movie. But that was my laundromat in the West End. And so if I could have did it all over, instead of using the student loan to pay for Morris Brown, I would have used the loan to buy that laundromat in the West End, and then got my lesson in the morning and went to the laundromat in the afternoon, got my coins, took my coins to registration, and paid for my schooling in cash, all right? So then I would have finished my 4 years of getting my lesson in the daytime and getting real business acumen in the afternoon, right? And then paid for my schooling, not had a student loan, then put the laundromat up for sale. So after the movie came out, another 150 G's hit my account. So now I got an education, no student loan, and $150,000 cash. You following, class? That's a real education. That's not something that we making up, all right? So these are the types of lessons that you need in order to be successful if you want to give yourself leverage or some type of economic footing. We're running out of time, so I want to get to this right quick. This is the 10-year snapshot, average monthly income by race. You can all see here the disparities. I mean, the numbers just get crazier. And here's what I want to end on. Industries with high African American representation. Now, if you know anything about what I talk about, and I don't knock folks that work 9 to 5s, I think it's imperative to have some type of discipline to show up every day and do what you're told. But at the same time, if all you're doing is working a job, and the acronym for job, if no one told you, is just over broke, if all you're doing is working for one stream of income, you got a problem. We have to practice what we call multiple streams of income. Lawyers practice law, doctors practice medicine, entrepreneurs practice multiple streams of income, all right? If ain't nobody told you this, this is the deal right here. So when you look at the health and medical administration, 21% are African Americans, right, in that industry. Median income, $46,000. Like, that's acceptable. Come on, man. Do you know what they're paying my son to translate? Class? He gets on average like $47.50 an hour. That's his minimum, all right? And he's putting in beyond 40 hours sometimes in the summertime when he works. He takes these jobs all over the country, all right? Human services, 20%. Median income, $39,000. Social work, 19%, $41,000. Public administration, 17%, $52,000. Like, that's acceptable. Criminal justice, we're gonna help you learn to fight the system that we put to already put you behind the 8-ball, and we're only giving you $48,000. So the whole thing is crazy. And what I'm saying is, these numbers are not gonna be acceptable for you to be able to maintain a family in the near future. It's too much happening. So we can go on and on with the statistics. Your homework assignment tonight, class, is to read The Second Machine Age. I'm out of time, but what's coming down the pipe is imperative. This machine age deals specifically with computers, automation, and artificial intelligence, and it's already here. They're already implementing these systems. These systems are already taking away jobs, and if you don't understand how to maintain these robots, you're not gonna have a job. So this is the update of the future of what's happening. I think it's pretty timely. I think it's very palatable. I think it's very relatable to our audience. But now the onus is on, you know, you're gonna spend the rest of the weekend learning from experts. You guys have brought in some guns. They've got banks here. You've got, you know, people from SBA. You've got credit union CFOs and CEOs here. You've got people with a lot of intellectual firepower. What you do with this information when you walk out this door is going to dictate your entrepreneurial career. So the onus is on y'all. Y'all can be on Snapchat and Twitter if you want. But at the end of the day, if you're not figuring out how to develop a skill set, whatever that skill set is, my son just happens to speak 3 languages. Y'all got skill sets too. You need to pull that genius out and master it so it becomes something where race don't even become an issue. He's black, wears his hair natural, be having Malcolm X frames on and put his fist in the air, straight in your face. But they gotta cut that check because them folks don't understand how to read Japanese kanji. They gotta pay my son. Nissan had to pay him this summer because they couldn't figure out the instructions at the plant to put the generator in, all right? And some dude from South Georgia who was a staunch racist said my son was given wrong information. And this guy was supposed to be an electrician, a master electrician. And my son was like, yo, when we read this, it's read this way. Meaning this new generator that cost like $50 million that they was installing at the Nissan plant in Tennessee was about to be installed backwards. It would have blew up the entire town. And because my son could read the language, and he was reading the prints, and he was able to communicate between the Japanese team and the South Georgia team, he created an opportunity to save a catastrophe. Young black man who's supposed to be wearing his pants hanging off his behind, right? Focus on your skill sets, yo. Do you even know that you got a skill set? And if so, what is it? Because that skill set has a value, especially in the right situation. Because had it been me, I would have been like, yo, you want this information? I need a bonus right now. And here's my SWIFT codes to Scotiabank in Nassau, Bahamas. Then I would have gave him the information. But everybody don't roll like that. So listen, I appreciate your time. I'm getting the signal. But we love you guys, man, and I'm available. So if you have any questions, just focus and do what you need to do. The school has really put a lot in place for y'all, man. Take advantage of this opportunity. A lot of schools don't care like this. Clark clearly does. So now it's on you. If y'all don't do what y'all supposed to do and you wind up on the street because you strung out and all that stuff, I ain't gonna feel sorry for you because you ain't got no excuse. Everything is here for you. Now the onus is on you. So I appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.